Hello, everybody. Welcome along to the Event Industry News podcast with me, James Dixon, wishing you all, as always, a very good morning, afternoon, or evening, whenever or wherever you tune in from today. I always say on the podcast that I get excited when we get international guests on, when people join me, often from the other side of the Atlantic. We've got a lot of good friends of the podcast who are based over in North America who've been on here before and spoken. But I get even more excited when we go beyond the Atlantic, beyond North America, and we go in the opposite direction, depending on which way you're going, and across the Pacific Ocean, maybe in one stretch, or across the Indian Ocean in another way. And we trace the Indiana Jones line all the way across to Australia and welcome today's guest, who is the co-founder of Joy, a company we're going to be finding out a little bit more about and what they do for event organizers down in Australia and indeed on a global level. Mr. Rob Vass joins the podcast today. Rob, very warm welcome to the podcast. I was going to say good morning, but it's good evening for you. It's 9 o'clock over there.
Yes, and good morning to you, James. Thank you for having me on.
No, an absolute pleasure. And we've spoken to people not just on the podcast, but also when we did our virtual event tech lives during the pandemic. We had guests on and speakers from the Australian events industry, and we learned quite a lot during those discussions about what was happening down there. We're going to find out a bit more about you guys today, but specifically some new event budgeting tools that are helping to sort of save on the bottom line, which is not just an issue that event organizers where you are, Robert, are facing, but that's a global issue that event organizers are facing, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. And I guess one of the genesis, I mean, many things that provoked us to develop this product, but one of them was that I ran my own agency. I had 30 staff. We were, delivering on a busy month, 20 to 30 events, and keeping an eye on the budget and exactly what your margin was at any time was a nightmare.
Yeah, it's something that regardless of the size, the scale of your event, you're going to be dealing with it. It could be 50 people in a conference room. It could be 50,000 people in a stadium or a field for an event. But ultimately, we're all dealing with budgets. Let's put a bit of context on things first of all before we look at some of these new tools, Rob. Let's talk a little bit about Joy, your own business. You are the co-founder of Joy. Just give us a little bit of background about the company, why it was set up, and what it actually serves to provide.
Yeah. So going back to that time when I was running an agency, I did a lot of roadshows for software companies around Asia, and spent far too much time in spreadsheets. So did the rest of the team. And we thought there would be a better way of doing it. So Joy was developed for that. It's an event planning tool, a productivity tool, I guess you could say, but it's specifically for events. And there are three key components to it. So one is putting a program together, a program or agenda, and publishing that program or agenda to your event website, microsite, or wherever you need to publish it. And making it more fun actually putting that program together. Because everyone, again, we're going back to Excel spreadsheets and, adding up time and playing, something moves and it's pain. So we've made that really easy in the publishing. We then combine that with scheduling because we went, wow, you're going to schedule all your venues, your suppliers, your speakers, your performers all around the program. So why not build a schedule into it? So we've done that. We've got a really cool scheduling tool. And the final major piece is really the budget. And we're going to do all of this, but let's hope we make a living out of it. Indeed, a profit. Yeah.
And how deep can that go from a budgeting point of view? Because the scheduling bit I get, because it's not just about, scheduling the times of the artists or the performers or the speakers, depending on the nature of the event. You've got, setup times, you've got sound checks, you've got all of those other sort of elements that build, lighting checks, audio system checks. All of that's got to be scheduled, hasn't it? So presumably it's not just the artist scheduling, it's all that other stuff that can sometimes get forgotten, can't it?
Yeah, and it's one of those things that a lot of the activity for event managers gets and event organizers get compressed in the last 2 weeks. The photographer goes, "Where's my schedule?" The videographer, you got all your suppliers shouting at you, going, where should we be? There are changes to the program, and there are changes. Speakers move about, and you got to keep everyone up to date. You got to schedule everyone and keep it up to date. And again, people go back to Excel spreadsheets. For some of the larger events I did, I had a team who just did the schedule. That's all they did. And anyone who wanted to change had to bring it in. So removing that stuff can be a tiny event, can be a big event, doesn't matter. You can schedule everything. And this is one of the things with Joy, which goes through not only scheduling, but the way we brief, the way we collect information. You actually do it on URLs. So you send people a schedule on a URL.
Right.
Which means that if you make a change, their schedule updates automatically. So you don't get version 10 final, honest, no, this is the final, version 3. Oh, no, it's not the final.
Underscore Rob's changes.
Rob's changes. And that thing of people actually saving it and then working off their own one because they find it too hard to work out. So all of that stuff, you just distribute your URLs, could be 2 weeks before the event. If there are changes, everyone gets them. And that goes to the day. One of the first events when we launched Joy, the event planner went, I couldn't believe it, delayed flights. We had to move a performer. We just moved it in Joy. Everyone knew exactly what was going on. There was no running around giving people update notes or anything like that. So that's a really cool piece. And just being able really for the logistics team working in harmony with the program team, because often you find those two bits work separately. They might update the website, so the program team go, we've got a change, or we've got a fabulous new speaker. They update the website, but the people doing the logistics find out because they've looked at the website and gone, oh, there's a change. I know that. I worked in production for ages, and the thing we did was have the client's website up because we knew that we'd see changes on the website faster than we got them from the client.
Yeah.
So we've removed that by making it actually one and the same thing. You update in Joy, your program, you've published it, so the updates get pushed through to publish, but the logistics team get the updates straight away as well.
Yeah.
You move a performer, their schedule updates automatically. Their new time, their speaker assets are with them. Their stage notes are with them. So you don't have to, again, stuff around in those spreadsheets.
Yeah. It's something that I think a lot of event organizers have become familiar with. And there are obviously lots of virtual event platforms now, particularly that to an extent do some scheduling. But from what I see, and certainly from my own experience, we're still at a stage where we've got this combination of these new of tech platforms that do some of this stuff for us on an automated level, and we still inevitably have sheets floating around for other bits and pieces. Are you guys at a stage yet where the clients that you're working with have managed to eliminate everything and do it all through this, or is there still that sort of almost hybrid element where they're doing 95% of the stuff via Joy, but there's still the odd list here and there that may be floating around on their laptops?
I can't tell you about all of them. I can tell you about the ones that have told me. And one event planner contacted me and said, I've just done a 3-day conference and I didn't print out any paper.
Brilliant.
And Joy doesn't have an app at the moment. We'll bring that in for organizers as well as attendees. That's a few months away, but it's mobile responsive. So everything that you do on your desktop in planning, you can then look at on your mobile. So it's all accessible to you on your mobile.
And I guess if it's URL based, the actual sort of need for an app is is maybe not as essential as if it wasn't URL based, if that makes
Oh,
sense. Because
absolutely.
presumably there are attendee URLs exactly as there are production URLs. So
Yeah.
if as long but you could scan
Oh,
it with a QR code on your way into the event as an attendee and take you straight to that URL for the agenda.
Yeah. Look, here's a challenge to anyone listening. We haven't found an event, and I think the biggest event we've had is a 30-day festival citywide. So they had an awful lot of what we call room locations, and a lot of schedules. And there isn't any combination of schedules that you can't do enjoy. You can also create standalone schedules, so things like bus drop off or the green room or speaker prep room, all that sort of stuff. Which a lot of I haven't seen another tool that allows you to do that so easily. And so, yeah, it really negates the desire to go back to paper, because why would you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I very rarely use it now on an event that I'm working on. Paper, because
Yeah,
for the reasons that you've already said, is that you print it out, and then if there's a change to something, it's redundant. You're then scribbling on a piece of paper. Before you know it, that piece of paper has got more scribbles on it than it's actually got the original printed information. It's redundant, and it's a waste of paper. In light of sustainability targets, and again, that's a global thing. That's not just in the UK, in Europe, in North America, across the world. The events industry is trying to become a more sustainable beast.
And you can save printing out all those event books.
Yeah.
Everyone throws to one side because they're all out of date. I will add, for those, it's not all event managers get involved in content, but if you do, there's also facilitator notes, so MC and all that sort of stuff, which is the same principle. Now they're subject to change all the time. You've got to mention Beth's birthday or the sponsors or whatever else. You want to whack those in, and the afternoon changes from the morning, because you've got key points that come up and you want to make them. You can do that live with a shared URL with your MC. They see it. You can also share that with your show crew. So your show crew can follow along with the script as well. So, brilliant things like award ceremonies, which we know are all high pressure and subject to change. And I sat there, enough times as a show caller, crossing things out and trying to update things. And everyone just goes, I give up. I'm just going to wait for you to say it, which is, what we've got used to in the events industry, but much better if people can actually see what's going on, and they can be more proactive in making it a better show.
Yeah, absolutely. That there's always that one speaker who wants to bring a totally different device and do something totally different on the lectern, and then the AV guy's having a complete meltdown because he didn't see it on the notes, or nobody gave him a copy of the notes in advance, so he's not got the right cable with him, or he's got to go fishing it out of a flight case in a panic because he's got 5 minutes till the next session starts. It's small little things that make a big difference to how smoothly an event runs, and it's all about the experience of the contractors who are working for you, for the people who are presenting for the audience. Every single one of those elements has an impact on the actual outcome of your show, doesn't it?
And for me, when I started out, producing a show was quite daunting, and we all learn on the job. And you meet a speaker, you're doing your pre-prep like 3 months out from the event. You'd say, and the speaker would say something, you go, where am I going to put that so it's remembered at the right time during the event? Like the stage movement. The stage movement might go, we're going to do that, put the lectern there, and they might tell you that a month before the event. Where are you going to put it so you can guarantee that it's going to be remembered? And I also found that, COVID has changed a lot of people who are now delivering live events. And it's tough learning that stuff and just being presented with, well, you got an Excel spreadsheet, make it up. And I think, anyone in that situation, if you're using Joy, it does help you, guide you on going, cool, well, I can put that in, I've got plenary room schedule, I've got a gap between those presentations, and I've got to do a stage change. Now, I find that out a month before. I put it in the schedule, enjoy, it's there. And no one's going to miss it on the day because they're all looking at that schedule.
Absolutely. Moving this on to the budget discussion, I suppose, which is very, very much why we got you on today to have a chat about this, is that this is presumably a tool that you have developed that is now within Joy as a platform. And was it something that you've had to develop entirely from scratch, or is it effectively utilizing some of the information that's populated in the platform already and sort of translating it into budget? How has the development of this sort of the budgeting tool come about?
Most of the budget is independent of it. Well, there are things that we had, like, you've got tasks in Joy that you can put time on, and they can feed directly into the budget. So when we put tasks in and time, we knew that was going to feed into the budget. Likewise with assets. So, as you go through your event, you can create anything. It could be a bunch of flowers, or it could be an opening video is an asset that you need for the event. Could be your often forgotten reserve signs, laminated reserve signs that you've got to stick along the front row. Whatever it is, it's an asset, and it has to be produced, and it invariably has a cost to it. So those two things, the assets and the tasks, feed into the budget. But and the other thing is that obviously you can put your suppliers in there, what we call resource, because a lot of people are using volunteers or whoever else, people that you need to send information to and get information from in the planning of it, called resource. You can also get a quote from them. But the fundamental part of it was developed simply because we don't think there's a good tool out there for event planners. The most basic thing is, and any event planner that's looked for a budget tool will know this, the first thing that trips them up is there isn't a second multiplier. Unless you go to a rental management system. So I've got, a laptop for hire, one laptop, $200 a day, and it's going to be there for 3 days. And no other budget tool, except for rental management, has a second multiplier in it, which is really frustrating, because you look at all these things and that's great, but no second multiplier means I have to write a long description. It's difficult to adjust the budget. So just putting that in is just an enormous help.
Well, just to expand on that a little bit for anybody who's listening to this who might not understand the second multiplier, maybe that's maybe not within their remit as an organizer, but it may be someday. Just explain to people exactly what that second multiplier does.
Well, a typical thing, if you're an event management company, you'll go, I've got one event manager on site, and I've got a charge for on site. So let's say £1,000 for on site for the day. And it's a 3-day conference, so they're going to be there for 3 days. So normally you go, it's one event manager, or maybe you change it to 3 event managers, $1,000, or one event manager for $3,000. But either way, it's not clear. This way, it lets you go one event manager, $3,000 a day, 3 days. $1,000 a day, 3 days, total $3,000. So, and there are so many things in the event world where you need that second multiplier, because you're dealing with days or length of time you're gonna be doing it. Or it might be the number of people. So you've got 2 production managers, and they're both going to work on the event for 120 hours. So it's 2 hourly rate, 120 hours, and you've got your total. It works internally as well as externally, because you don't also confuse yourself over your own budgets and go, why did you put that number in there? I can't remember.
Well, crew, the one that springs to mind straight away there is crew, because your crew numbers are constantly fluctuating over the duration of your event, from build to break through the actual delivery of the live event. Your crew numbers fluctuate quite a lot. don't they? You have
Yeah,
a lot at the beginning. It scales down a little bit as the loading's complete and the build is nearing completion. Then things are handed over more to the technicians who are actually operating. So you scale back your crew, you retain some on site during the event, and then suddenly it booms again when you're ready to break it all down. And that could be a difficult one to sort of multiply and add up.
So here's a second thing about the Joy budget. So we've got the second multiplier. You can now do your budgets, whatever. They all split into sections. You can do tax on the line, so you can have tax lines with no tax or tax. You can, for event managers on charging, you can put a markup, you can put a fee on it. You can have one section in a different currency to another. So if you're in the UK delivering in Europe, part of your event's in euro, part of your event is in pounds, you can have sections in euros and pounds. It'll give you a budget total in whatever your budget currency is and report on that budget currency. So you can handle all of that sort of stuff as well. The other nice thing, your crew example, you're going to go to, you're an event manager, you go to the AV company and they go, we're charging this for labor. They can actually fill out a section. You can send them a URL, which is effectively a budget section. They can fill it out with all that detail, send it back to you. You can, if you accept that, you can include that in the budget.
Right.
So you actually have, you can actually put a lot more onus on the supplier to give you the correct numbers. So you send it to them and they, they're not going to fill out their entire budget. It'd be too long, but you can put your budget top line items in a section and you can go, AV1, these are the budget, these are the top line budget lines. And they can do as many sections as they want. You can get as detailed as you want, but that's a direct link. So if something changes in the event, you send them back the link, they update it, your budget updates when you click the accept, when you accept changes, the crucial thing on that. But so that is completely unique in the budget, in as much as you can get your suppliers to do more for you. And for people who, you're using freelancers, for them, it's often quicker and easier for them to give you a quick quote in the Joy budget URL than it's to generate one. They go, oh yeah, that's going to be this number of days or this number of hours. This is what I'm going to charge. And they can just send it to you as a live link. Brief changes, they can update it.
Yeah. And as a freelancer myself, that is, you get asked for it and it's either, right, okay, I've got to dig out that blank document, fill it out, fill out all my quotation, change the details of the person I'm quoting for, the name, the address, the business details, right, send it back. And okay, it might take 5 minutes, but how many times have we all been in a situation where like, I just don't have time to do that now, even though it's 5 minutes. I don't have time to do that now. Or you may send them a similar sort of thing back on an email, which still takes 5 minutes. If it comes through quickly and easily, and you can just do it on your phone and go, boom.
And the beautiful thing is, I haven't spoken to a supplier or an event manager that hasn't lost money because they haven't added up the sales correctly.
Yeah.
That thing where you got your Word document and you change it and you don't add it up and go, I'll send it an incorrect quote, or you sent it to the client and you go, oh no, that final cell I added actually wasn't in the total.
Yeah.
So I've underquoted. That you can't do. So whatever number you put in.
One thing that I was going to, and this might sound maybe like a mundane thing to ask, but it will have an impact depending on the size of the event, is adding all of that stuff that happens during the event cost wise that may not necessarily appear in the budget in advance. Can you put it in there in real time? And I'm talking about things like a city centre event where you may have staff moving from a hotel to the venue and they get 3 different Ubers, in the morning to get there, and they pay for that on a company card or whatever, food, you may be on site and you send somebody out with a card and say, look, go and get lunch for everybody quickly. All of that stuff that happens there that you tend to add, you tend to add up 2-3 weeks after the event's taken place, could somebody just hop on the platform quickly in real time and say, right, quickly input that stuff in there straight away and it goes into the budget?
Yeah, so short answer is yes, you can put in all those on-site costs. And one of the reasons it's easy is the Joy budget is actually split into 2 pages. You've got a revenue page and a cost page. In the cost page, you can create as many sections as you want. So when you're on site, you would create a section on site costs, and you could add things as they go. You can then review that and decide what you want to put into the revenue page. So the revenue page for an event management company would be typically the budget they're presenting to their client.
Yeah.
And you can put things into costs and then at a click of a button decide whether that goes into the revenue page or not. And you can also, you've got a unit cost and a unit rate. So you can decide on what your cost is and what your rate is, which is what you're charging the client. So all of those things are really quick and easy to control. And you know that you're never going to trip up on the, are things adding up correctly?
Sure.
The other thing is, I mean, obviously, when you talk about adding things to a budget, people get nervous and go, but who can see my budget? So there's access to Joy as a platform. So you can have a team and you can give them access to all your events in your account. Then you've got access by event. So you can invite people into the event. You can invite suppliers in if you want, but anyone in the team who's going to work on the event, you can invite them in and give them permission levels. Budget, though, stays outside of all of that. And basically, the only people that get access to budget are the ones you specifically invite.
Yeah.
So it's really controlled. There's no danger of anyone who shouldn't see the budget seeing the budget.
Yeah, and that's a big one, for obvious reasons, and it's not because people want to sort of, pull the wool over anybody's eyes, is it? But ultimately we all want to make some money in doing this, and the people who are ultimately pulling all the strings and making it happen, running the event, and shouldering the responsibility, I suppose, at the end of the day, are entitled to sort of keep an element of it hidden so that they can make some money on it.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, budgets are always a sensitive thing. The client doesn't want anyone to know how much they're spending. Suppliers don't want anyone to know how much they're charging a lot of the time. So yeah, it's confidential stuff. And we've designed Joy to make sure that that's easy to do.
Sure.
There is one other aspect of the budget, which I'll quickly mention, which I don't think is easy to do in other things, other budget tools, and that's cash flow.
Yeah.
So, everyone knows when you've got big costs going out before an event and after an event, and it's really important to manage your cash flow. And lots of people have fallen foul of that with events. When you give the supplier URL to fill in their budget stuff, you also get them to fill in their payment schedule. And that comes down as a cash flow. So you can see money coming in and money coming out, and it'll give you a total of where you're sitting at any one time. And you not only get that at event level, but if it's your account, so you set up the account, you're the administrator of the account, you actually see that at account level. So if you've got 30 events going on, you can see your cash flow over all those events on one screen. You can see your money coming in, your money coming out, and you can see exactly where you sit. So as a business, that can be really hard to do. Certainly when you're running multiple events, and we've made Joy to make that a little bit easier for you.
Yeah, and going back to some of the stuff that we're talking at the beginning about, what Joy, I'm not going to say was originally set up to do, but some of the other features like the agenda planning, the scheduling, etc., you will have costs associated with speakers, with not just with artists at a music event, for example, but a lot of business focused conferences. You may be paying your keynote speakers, or you may be covering an element of their travel expenses or hotel expenses, and all of that's got to be factored in. And often it's little things like that, again, that are are factored in different places in your organization. You'll have your agenda, and then you'll have your cost, but you won't necessarily see what each speaker is costing you in terms of expenses and fees in the same place.
Yeah, and also you can go to the speaker bureau or the manager and go, give me a quote for this speaker and make sure you include everything, because that's what we're going to pay you. Because many people have fallen foul of the going, oh, cool, you're £10,000 for the event, brilliant, and then they, 2 weeks out, you go, and by the way, they want 4 days in a 5-star hotel room, and the extreme ones, they want a bit of money to spend during the day, and suddenly you find that you're out of pocket. So you can ask people when you send them the URL for a quote, go make sure everything's in there, because that's what we're budgeting on. That's what we're going to pay you. So it gives you a bit more, there can be a bit of confusion with a quote. Oh, you didn't read the fine print. Whereas this is going, no, this is it. This is what I'm going to pay you at the end of the event. So make sure you've got everything in there. It gives you a bit more certainty of your margin and a bit more certainty that you've captured all the costs as well. And then it's very easy to share the revenue side with your client and give the client a quote where you're really sure of all the elements of that quote.
Sure. How adaptable is it? Obviously, it goes without saying, you're in a different country to the one I'm based in at the moment. We all have, or every country will have their slightly different idiosyncrasies when it comes to things like VAT, sales tax, whatever it may be called. How you've already mentioned that different currencies can be selected and you can deal with things in different currencies, but when it comes to things like VAT or any sort of additional things, can the platform be adapted quite easily depending on the geographic location?
Yeah, absolutely. And what it will do is save. So when you go in there, GST, VAT rates vary all over the place. The US, they don't charge them at all. Then you got everywhere else charges a different rate. And, in Canada, it charges 13% in one district and 5% in another. It saves your defaults by event and also over the account, so you don't have to change it all the time. You can adapt that, and it also allows you to do inclusive and exclusive. So when you're dealing with venues and they never separate out the VAT for you because they go, we quote everything including VAT, well, you just do it inclusive and it breaks out that VAT without you having to get your calculator out and try and work out exactly what they are charging you.
Yeah, it's the one that always gets me. I've just recently returned from a work trip to North America for the Event Tech Live show that will be delivered in April. And the one that always gets me out there is you just go into a common or garden shop, to buy a couple of bottles of water or something, and there's never, the sales tax is never included in the price that you see on the shelf.
I know.
It's like it is in the UK, and it always catches me out. You think, oh, bottle of water, $1. I'll get 2 of those. There's $2. No, it's not. And it always catches me out. And
you would think someone would be able to become president just by saying, I'm going to make people actually just put the price.
Just include the price. Just include.
You're going to pay it. Why not put it on?
Just include it. But it's all really, really important stuff, and dare I say, fairly not complex from a user point of view, because I think more and more organizers now are familiar with using platforms to help manage their events. One important thing that we should probably address before we wrap up, Rob, is the sort of the model of Joy and how it works. We've spoken about how an organizer can have multiple events set up there, so they can have their budget flows and their scheduling and their organization for different events. Presumably this all works on a sort of subscription model similar to other event management platforms.
As a festival organizer said to me, are you sure your pricing's right? Because I can't believe I'm getting this for $20 or £20 a month.
Yeah.
£15 a month. Sorry, £15 a month. So what you do, what it is the number of active events you have. You can have 5 active events going at any one time, and it costs you £15 a month, 20 US dollars, 25 Australian, and you can run any size event. As I said, they're running large events, so it means that people, we've gone for a strategy of let's get thousands of users, and we can make Joy fabulous because we're continually upgrading it, updating it, and all that sort of stuff. We can make Joy fabulous and make delivering events, take some of the really nasty bits out of it, just the painful late night bits you have to do, and the price is inconsequential. You're not having to sacrifice anything to pay for it. It's just like, why wouldn't you? And that's our ethos, and that's what we want to stay with.
Well, businesses are very much built on having, again, apropos budgets, business budgets now are very much built on having monthly outgoings for subscriptions, whether that be for, you're using, Google, G Suite or Google Business, whatever they want, that they're branding it depending on your territory. You might have a premium Dropbox account, you've got access to things like Canva or Adobe. Everyone's got monthly outgoings now as a business, certainly in the events industry, for those sort of tech tools and the subscription based items that we all use now. So that model, it's commonplace, isn't it? And it's something that's not gonna create really sort of any sort of serious questions from any sort of user, because it's something that we're so used to now.
And look, and our attitude is that if you are an event professional delivering events to make money, then Joy should make you money, because it will save you time, and hopefully you get a bit more sleep as well on the lead into the event, because you're not going to be up at 3 o'clock in the morning adjusting spreadsheets. If you're an event owner, it'll save you money because of the planning time. If you're a not-for-profit, you're going to make a bit more money on your event, hopefully. And that's our intention. Events are, I've had a wonderful life delivering events. I mean, my area was business events, and done some beautiful large-scale events. I've done an awful lot of small events that were just great fun. The bit that distracted from it was sometimes the logistics or the paperwork got in the way from the experience. And if someone signs on to Joy and goes, number one, I enjoyed delivering the event more. Number two, we delivered it with less stress. And number three, the planning tools actually made it a better event. That's from publishing the program on a website at the very beginning to the scheduling and making sure everything runs to budget. What we want to do.
It absolutely is, and I can sort of almost feel down my headphones and down the connection, people listening to this today nodding their heads, going, "We love the sort of the bit on site, and we love the hands-on bit and the buzz of being there and pulling on the high vis and seeing people coming in, and then the show opening and etc. etc. It's all the other stuff. It's all the other stuff that we hate."
And we do amazing productions with very little prep time, and no rehearsal time or minimal rehearsal time. You got one shot at it. So anything that's going to make that a better experience and make it more fun to be in events, then if we can do that, then we're very happy.
Absolutely. We've been speaking on the podcast today to Mr. Rob Vass, the co-founder of Joy, who has joined us from their base in, well, I think it is Sydney, isn't it? That you guys are based in? Yeah, Sydney, Australia. Fabulous for our thanks to Rob for staying up late at their time and having a chat with us today. Rob, before we wrap up, really important, we've spoken plenty about the platform today and about Joy, but if people want to do their own exploration after they've listened to this podcast today, tell us how they can find out a bit more about you guys. Where do they go and what do they need to do?
So website, www.joy.events. It's a 30-day free trial. no credit cards, no spamming after it, no nothing. Just go on, have a go. If you like it, carry on using it and spread the word, because the more users we get, the better we're going to make Joy.
And it's really important because for anybody who is listening to this, and we'll come to that whole thing in a moment, but anybody listening to this, Joy is JOI. Really important. JOI.events is the website to go to. And I'm sure if you search for JOI events, Joy events on any of the other platforms, social media, LinkedIn, etc., you'll come across Rob, you'll come across the company, and do your own digging. Because I had a little look around their website before we came on the podcast today. And, I've seen enough of them and been on enough of them to know that if you can understand it in sort of under 5 minutes, then it's likely going to be pretty good. The ones where you have to sort of dive around for half an hour on and you're still not quite sure what it does, the ones maybe that haven't been quite as well thought out. But I can assure you, if you hop on the joy.events website, you'll know within 5 minutes what these guys do, and get in touch with Rob and the team there to see how they can help you. Rob, thanks very much for taking the time to join us today, and apologies, we had a little bit of a technical glitch halfway through the recording today, which was entirely my fault, nothing to do with Rob and his immaculate connection that's coming in from Australia. So there may be a little bit of an edit halfway through today's podcast, which you may have picked up on, but our thanks to Rob for sticking with it, and apologies for the little technical glitch there. But we got to the end of the chat nicely. A little bit of plugging from my end of things, Rob, before we finish. The podcast has been recorded, for context, on the 6th of March, everybody, and will likely go out in the next 2 or 3 weeks. Recently, Event Industry News announced the launch of Event Sustainability Live, a brand new live event that will run alongside Event Tech Live in London at Excel later on this year. That's going to be co-located with Event Tech Live on the 15th and 16th of November at Excel London. Once again, that's Event Sustainability Live, a brand new trade show that's been launched by Event Industry News and the team behind it, Event Tech Live, looking at all things sustainability. I mentioned very briefly on today's chat with Rob that it is a huge topic in the events industry, not just in the UK, not just in Europe, but globally at the moment. All event organizers are tackling and dealing with the issue of sustainability. Certain elements of how you can deal with that have been spoken about by Rob today, and how Joy can help in certain aspects of that. But if you want to sort of dive into that in a bit of a deeper sense, eventsustainabilitylive.com is the new website for that new show that was announced just a few weeks ago by the Event Industry News team. Will take place on the 15th and the 16th of November alongside Event Tech Live at London Excel. And of course, there's Event Tech Live in Las Vegas, which is coming to you for the first time in April at the Expo at World Market Center. Just head over to eventtechlive.com if you are listening in North America, or indeed if you are based anywhere else but you fancy a trip over to Vegas to look at all things event tech. eventtechlive.com is where to go, and that show comes to you in April, which brings us nicely to the end of today's recording. Rob, thanks again for staying up late. I'll let you go and enjoy maybe a cold beverage or whatever your poison may be at this time of the evening. Once again, joy.events is the place to go if you want to find out more about those guys. Thanks very much for listening, everybody. It's been a pleasure as always, and I'll see you on the next edition of the Event Industry News podcast. Goodbye, everybody.